Matthew Moore's FM1 Studio. Today is Sunday, September 24th, which means it's time for another shop update. Alright, well, it's been a big week here in the shop on these doors. Right now, the case is just kind of dry assembled. It's been put together and then clamped and then unclamped, except for one clamp in the back. And it's just slightly off a square right now. Of course, I'll fix that in the glue up, but this was just so I can get the doors on and shoot the update for you guys. So let me walk you through, well, let's just forget about that. Let's open it up. So you'll see there's no handles here, and that's on purpose. I actually instead cut a groove into the bottom of the cabinet doors down here instead. So what I did was I took my dado stack and I made it so it's 3/4 of an inch wide. I found exactly where I wanted to put it on the bottom piece of each door, both for depth and for the length. And I took my piece once I had my fence set up for the depth, and after I had marked both the beginning of where the blade enters and then exits the top of the table saw, dropped my piece in, moved it forward, and then shut the saw off. And that created this little like handle that I could use for my hands underneath, and then just be able to open the cabinet that way instead of putting handles on the front, because I really love how clean the look is. So with the cabinet open here, you can see that there's these panels in here, and then up above I've put in acrylic. I didn't do glass because I was worried about the glass breaking when I put the door together and clamped everything up. It's just about 1/4 of an inch thick. And the other really cool thing about the acrylic was about the finish I'm using on the cabinet is I'm using BLO, and I did a whole bunch of tests, and boiled linseed oil on the acrylic doesn't do anything to it. It doesn't affect it, nada. Shellac screws up the acrylic. Boiled linseed oil, if you spill a little bit on it, or you get a little bit on when you're doing the finish, you can just wipe it up right then before it hardens, and it's not a problem. So these panels are in here. There's also, as you saw, this divider here for the window section. So to do all of that, just like the notches on the bottom of the doors itself, I had to get the table saw set up for 1/4 of an inch cut. Mark the beginning and the end of where the blade enters and exits the table saw. Drop the pieces of the doors down, and then cut a groove along the entire length of the pieces, as well as the width on the top and the bottom. Now, once those grooves were cut, I came over to the bench, and with a router plane and some chisels, I cleaned up all of my ends. So now with that done, the next step was to get these dividers here done. And I found a piece of wood that I had sitting on the lumber rack that I resawed in half. And by splitting it in half and then taking it out like this, I have this really nice pattern. I have this curve coming up and the curve coming down, and then cut stub tenons for these guys. So they're not that thick, they're 1/4 of an inch, the depth of the groove in here as well, and got those cut. Just a little bit proud of flush for the door, and then I was able to transfer the locations for the groove over the table saw with just a regular alternate tooth bevel blade, cut the grooves on the top and the bottom for this piece as well. And that worked out really great. And after that, it was time to cut these plywood panels up and then cut a dado around all 4 sides that allowed me to take the panel and then sink it inside of the door. And with all that done, it was time to do some sanding. So I sanded up the door all the way around, and then with them sanded and everything dry fit and worked, it was time to actually put some finish on. So what I did was I wanted to pre-finish the panels, and I also wanted to pre-finish the inside of the doors as well. And there was a reason for that. Since I cut this groove in here, I knew it'd be hard to get inside of where the groove was, so I wanted to put a coat of BLO all around the inside. And at the same time, with that coat on there, I knew that the glue, if it came inside the doors, it'd be a lot easier to clean up. And sure enough, it definitely was. So gluing these guys up was the next step, which I did. Now to do that, I used some clamping collets that I made, and these were the same staggered pattern, or same pattern as the finger joints. And what's great about that was I'm able to apply pressure right on the joint instead of taking clamps and putting it before the joint. That's pretty much it for this week. What have you guys been up to this week? What have you been working on in the shop? I want to know. So yeah, that's it. As always, please subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, and hit that thumbs up button if you like this video. If you're watching this on Facebook, hit the like button, share your timeline, and head over to the MM Wood Studio page and like us there as well. And as always, have a great week in your shop.